Glam family, and welcome back to Paper and Glam. Today we're doing something a little different. I wanted to sit down with you and have a heart-to-heart because I am moving to LA, as you saw from the intro. So I wanted to just sit down and give you kind of a walkthrough of what transpired and leading up to that decision and just kind of the details on my move to LA. So I am moving in 2 weeks. Actually 2 weeks from today, and I'm so excited, but there was a lot that went into that decision. If you're new to Paper and Glam, or you're new to my story and kind of what has transpired in my life that got me to Denver, where I currently live. So I grew up in Napa, California, which is in Northern California, and then I moved to, well, first I actually moved to Malibu when I was, I guess I was 17. And I did a semester at Pepperdine University, which is right in Malibu. And then I moved back to Napa and I finished my senior year of high school, finished high school. And then I moved to San Diego to attend the University of San Diego. So growing up, I knew that I wanted to move to a school on the beach in Southern California. And there's two that really fit the bill. It's Pepperdine in Malibu, and there's the University of San Diego in San Diego. And those are business schools. So I have always really had just a love for the beach, and I just knew I wanted to live in Southern California. So I lived in San Diego for 5 years, and then after college I moved to Denver. I love Southern California. I love California as a whole. It just has so much to offer. It's just an incredible place, right? It's just beautiful. There's nowhere else like it. But I was just really burned out on Southern California. I was just kind of tired of the heat and the hustle, and there's just a lot that goes into living in Southern California. and it's more than the heat and the hustle, but it's just, I wanted to live a different kind of life for a while. I really wanted to live somewhere that was seasonal and you know, I'd never lived somewhere with true seasons, and Denver just is so beautiful and just has those really 4 distinct seasons. You guys know I just absolutely love seasonal living, and I'd always lived in endless summer, which now I completely appreciate, but at the time I just was a little burned out on the whole thing. Even though I lived in San Diego, I went up to LA all the time. It was always in LA. I've danced in clubs with Paris Hilton, and I was there some of the nights they were filming The Hills, and I had done the LA thing. I'd gone to premieres. I just kind of done it, and it just didn't feel like where I should be for the next chapter in my life. I wanted to move away from home and really come into my own. For book club, we just read Thomas Hardy's Far from the Madding Crowd, and I was reading it, and really the main kind of premise behind Far from the Madding Crowd, from my perspective, is really that, it's about Hardy's hometown of Wessex, or I'm sorry, I know that I totally butchered that in real life. I think it's Dorset, but I know I'm butchering the title, so I'm sorry those of you who are in the UK. But the kind of premise behind it is these people who are kind of coming into their own far from the madding crowd, and that's kind of how I felt. I wanted to go out on my own and really just come into my own, far from the madding crowd, far from kind of the noise, and just figure out, who I was and what I wanted in life. And I definitely feel like I've checked those boxes. I have been in Denver for 6 years now, and I've loved it. Denver has been so good to me and has taught me so much about learning to love the Lord and learning to love myself, and just the life that He's given me as it's actually unfolding. And just to live authentically in community. And I would not trade the lessons that I have learned in Denver for the world. But, it's just time to go home. And I actually had started wrestling with moving home when I was, it was summer 2013, so a couple years back. And I really just felt home pulling on me then. And I thought that, I was going to move to LA eventually. And I started looking for apartments this summer 2013 again. And it just wasn't the right time. I was, still working in in an office here in Denver. I was working for an IT company in Denver, and I really wanted to work from home if I lived in LA because, just the traffic, and I just can't imagine a commute in LA. I have friends who go into the office every day in LA, and they literally leave the house at 7 in the morning and they come home at 7 at night. And 5 days a week of that doesn't leave much time for Paper and Glam, right? So I knew that wasn't going to be a good fit for me. So I had talked to some of the companies that are in Santa Monica, some of the tech companies, and some of the companies in Orange County. I had talked to Microsoft and Amazon and Google, just some of YouTube, which is Google, but they have an office in Santa Monica, and some of the big names in tech. And I thought that it'd be a pretty, not an easy transition, but I have a skill set that's pretty transferable to any IT company. And really going through the process of talking through to those companies and just kind of going through the options that were there, I just couldn't see myself commuting from Hollywood, West Hollywood, or Los Angeles to Santa Monica every day. It just didn't feel like the right fit, and it just wasn't the right time. Simple as that. And I kind of continued to wrestle with it for 2 years. I was just conflicted. Denver has a big piece of my heart, but home is home, and I needed it to fall into place. I needed confirmation that it was God's plan for my life, and that it was, and don't get me wrong, I think that God can weave his plan into your life, regardless of where you live, right? I don't really think that's super relevant. Can God have a definite, have you on location somewhere? Absolutely. But it's not like I felt like there was a right or wrong answer. It's much, it's a much deeper decision between, it's not like palm trees versus mountains. It's just a decision that I just wanted it to be the right time, and I really wanted it to feel like God had aligned my life so that this was the direction my life was taking. I didn't want to just make a move like I'm tired of Denver. I want to. I want to try something different. Moving to LA is, it's really expensive. Moving across the country, period, is really expensive, and the cost of living is, what it is in LA, and it's not something that I would do willy-nilly. So anyway, fast forwarding, in the spring of this year, I was taking a nap, and which is something I normally do. I work from about 8 to 4, and then I was just taking my little afternoon nap, and then I'll usually get up and do some things, go meet friends, or work on Paper and Glam, or whatever. So I was taking a nap, and in the dream, I was also taking a nap. I had a dream, and in the dream, I was also taking a nap. And when I woke up, in the dream, I had a message from Katrina, who's a book chatter. You guys might know her from book club. And she was talking about how much she was loving reading Frankenstein, which is our October read. And I said something back like, oh, yeah, I am really excited to read that when Halloween rolls around too. And she's like, what do you mean? The book chat's next week. Have you started? And I wrote back, it's June. What do you mean? And she said, what do you mean it's October? And then I looked at a calendar in my dream, and it was October. And in the dream, I was just completely devastated that I hadn't moved to LA. And I wasn't even planning to move to LA at this point. I had been wrestling with it, but I by no means had the gears in motion, so to speak, the wheels in motion. And from that point on, I really felt like it was time to start praying into LA again. And that night, I was praying because I just all of a sudden felt this overwhelming feeling that it was just time to go home. And I was praying, and God brought a verse to mind. And this is why I think it's so important. I know it's so important to be familiar with the Word of God, because a lot of times when I'm trying to discern things in my life and make decisions in my life, God will bring a verse to mind. The Holy Spirit will remind me of a verse. And the verse that came to mind was Jeremiah 29:11, and this is the Message translation. I'm just gonna read it for you really quick. This is my Bible. It has all my favorite verses washi taped. I'll link it below in case you want it. It has two translations. It has the Message and the NIV next to it. So I'm gonna read the Message, and it says, "I'll show up and take care of you as I promised, and I'll bring you back home. I know what I'm doing. I have it all planned out. Plans to take care of you, not abandon you. Plans to give you the future you hope for. When you call on me, when you come and pray to me, I'll listen. And when you come looking for me, you'll find me. Yes, when you get serious about finding me and want it more than anything, I'll make sure you won't be disappointed. I'll turn things around for you, bring you home to the place from which I sent you off. You can count on it." So if that doesn't give you chills, it gave me chills just reading that verse. And then, I knew that was the direction of that was my next step. But meanwhile, you know, I'd already scheduled my vacation for the year. I was going to Aruba, and there's a video on Aruba if you haven't seen it. And I was in the middle of concepting the Glam planner and getting her ready to go. And then I didn't want to, you know, request vacation as soon as I got back from Aruba when I already took a week off. So I was like, God, you know, I was praying, you know, how am I going to find time to go out and look for an apartment? And, you know, apartment hunting in LA is no joke. There are so many apartments that say charming, retro, quaint, which is code for falling down, because a lot of falling down in like $3,000 because a lot of LA is really old, right? And there's just so much demand. A lot of it hasn't been renovated, and now I knew from looking at apartments 2 years ago, like that was no joke. That was a tall order. And so I was just praying into, you know, God, if this is what you would have me do, then, you know, when am I going to find the time? And so I went to bed, and the next morning I woke up, kind of did my morning routine, and when I logged on to work, there was an email from my boss, and it said that I was going out to LA for a week to work, and it happened to be the week I got back from Aruba, which was 4th of July week, and I could not believe it. I was flabbergasted. It was absolutely perfect timing. My lease is up in a couple weeks now, but you know, at this point it was about 2 months out, and you know, you need to give 30 days notice and all that stuff, and kind of have time to go through the application process in LA, which is no joke. You have to give them your entire life story and then some. So it was really absolutely perfect timing. It was about 6 weeks out from when I needed to move. So I went to Aruba, had a beautiful time, and you know, also I'm almost glad I didn't know I was moving, because I wouldn't have scheduled a vacation. I would have probably been more conservative with finances. And I remember praying in Aruba, like, okay, you know, let me just enjoy this vacation, and you know, we'll get back to the grind as soon as I get back. And you know, I just felt such a peace when I was in Aruba, and it really felt like the Lord was just saying, you know, I got this. Don't worry about it. Just enjoy your vacation. And like tearing up, because it was just such a profound moment with the Lord. So I got back, went from Aruba, really kind of worked really hard to catch up, and then I went to LA, and I was working, and of course, and when I was done working, I went home to stay with my mom for the 4th of July. And on my way home, I got a text message, and it was from an apartment complex or building that I had looked at 2 years ago. It was like my dream apartment, and I had called them and asked if they had any availability when I really felt like the gears were turning on this LA move, and they didn't have any availability, and you know, what they did have wasn't in my price range. And so, you know, I really wasn't seeing stuff much on Craigslist. I was just kind of praying, like, hey, God, I need a house if this is the next thing that you would have for me. So please, you know, help me find a place to live. I only have a couple days here, and you know, I just needed to appear, because you know, I got 2 days to find a place to live, simple as that. And so anyway, I got this text message because I had signed up for like an alert if anything ever came available. They said, you know, hey, you can sign up for the alert, but rarely does anything come available. And it was the exact apartment that I'd wanted. It was my dream apartment that I'd seen it 2 years ago, and it was like, oh my gosh, this apartment is it. This is everything, but it was way out of range. I didn't think I'd be able to afford it. It was just beautiful and a dream. And so I got that text, and I could not believe it. So I called the building right away, and they said there wasn't something on the market. They didn't have it on the list. They were going to check into it and see what happened. So, you know, I was like, that's weird. But they called me back, and they said that that apartment did indeed come vacant. For some reason, it wasn't on the list. So she was finding out the price and everything, and we set up a tour for that afternoon. And I was on the way home to where my mom lives. It's about 2 miles away from this building. So I basically told my mom, hey, hit the ground running. As soon as I was in a car coming up to LA. As soon as I hit the door, like, we gotta head out. And so we did. We went. We met the property managers and took a tour. Somebody had just put in their notice, so I couldn't see the apartment, but it was exactly what I wanted. I'd seen it 2 years ago. I didn't really need to see it again. I remembered quite vividly what it looked like, and I just couldn't believe the way it had fallen into place. So I applied right there on the spot, and then I waited, and they called me. I was sitting at Creations on 3rd Street. It's a new Creations. If you live in LA, you definitely have to try it. And my mom and I were eating some lunch, and they called and said that I got the apartment, and it was as simple as that. And I could not believe it. My mom and I both cried. It was just such an overwhelming feeling of provision, and just feeling like, you know, God's got my back, and you know, he's not confined by anything. He's so much bigger than anything that I feel like is huge, right? I feel like, moving to LA, moving across the country, 2 jobs, I feel like all that stuff is, sometimes it's really overwhelming. And, it was just such a profound moment where it just really felt like, don't worry about it. Like, I got this in the bag. You just have to show up, pretty much. And I could not believe it. So it was just a confirmation of everything that I'd been praying for, and just that the Lord really does direct our steps. And, the Bible confirms that. I think it's Psalm 37:5. It says, basically honor the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. He'll grant your requests if they're, in line with what he would have for you, if they're in line with his will. And, don't get me wrong, I don't think the Lord is like a cosmic vending machine where it's like, press this button for a new apartment in LA. Like, not at all. I think that there's so much that goes into that. And for every like early morning that I wake up and read the Bible, there's probably like, 1 to every like 300 early mornings reading the word where I have this like really profound moment like that with the Lord. But sometimes it's just undeniable. So I just wanted to share that story with you guys, and I hope that that is an encouragement and just a confirmation. If maybe you're not seeing the Lord's hand in your life right now, that just hold tight. Just hold tight and just trust him, because he has a plan for you and a hope and a future. And that's just kind of a story of kind of the road that I've walked on the past 2 years, and just feeling like, this dream that I had to move back to LA and kind of resume my role in the world there, that I really felt like I just had to put to bed because it just was not working out. Sometimes God's answer isn't no, it's not yet. So anyway, that is the story of my move to LA, and I hope you kind of enjoyed this very candid chat. A few kind of logistical things that so I'm moving in 2 weeks. Like I said, I will absolutely be vlogging it. I will be, doing the usual moving vlogs. There'll be an apartment tour before all the movers get there. We are, we're driving, my mom and I. My mom's flying out, and we are driving across the country in my car with the Sunday Bear, and then I'm moving in, and like I said, I haven't seen my apartment, but what I do know of it is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment. It overlooks the pool, it's actually very similar to my current apartment, which also overlooks the pool. The square footage is almost exactly the same. The other one's actually, it's a little smaller, but the layout's really similar. Let's see. What else? It has beautiful white cabinets in black granite. It has a in-unit washer dryer, which, let me tell you, that is gold in LA. That was gold. Between pets and in-unit washer dryer and something that's not really old, like, I swear, like, if you have those 3 things in your criteria, and parking, if you have those 4 things in your criteria, it knocks out like 90% of the rentals in LA. So anyway, I am in Los Angeles proper, so I am in between Hollywood and downtown, and my mom lives about 2 miles away from me, and same with my cousin and a few friends, so it'll be good to kind of be right in town, right close to them. And yeah, I think that's kind of all that I have. There's no changes with Paper and Glam forthcoming. This move really had nothing to do with Paper and Glam. It's going to be all same thing, different city. So let me know if there's anything that I missed. I know that some of you guys really appreciated that I was in Denver, and that I was somewhere a little different than LA is on YouTube quite a bit, and I'm well aware of that. And I mean, that's no surprise, right? LA is the media center of the world, so that's just kind of par for the course. But really, the move back for me has much more to do with just missing home every day. I miss palm trees and beaches, and I miss my family, and I am so grateful for the way the Lord has worked in my life in Denver, but it's just time to go home. So that's my story for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will be back with some planner content soon. See ya. Alright.